Hello and welcome to the next instalment of the On the Road series. This is part 3, clip 3. I noticed looking back at some of my old videos that I already had a series called On the Road, so looks like I've stolen Willie Nelson's title at least twice now. Hopefully he won't mind. So to set the scene, I've just turned into the village of Tarago, took a right hand turn off the Braidwood Road onto the Bungendore Road at the Loaded Dog Hotel, and I'm riding through the village of Tarago now on the Bungendore Road towards the next township, which would be Bungendore, which is about 30 odd kilometres away. So I'm not going to make that township in this video clip, so you'll have to wait till the next clip to catch up with Bungendore. As with the last couple of clips, I've decided to leave the soundtrack that's picked up by the microphone in the camera, leave it unmuted, if that's the right word, and so you'll pick up some engine noise, you'll pick up some wind noise from the air moving across the microphone, you'll pick up some road noise, and you'll pick up some music. I've been fortunate that I haven't had an issue yet with YouTube saying I'm breaching copyright or the music that I'm listening to is copyright. I did explain how I use it, how that comes about. I'm just playing it through the audio system on my bike using a Bluetooth FM transmitter and music that's on an SD card. I don't know how that device chooses the music to play, whether it plays it randomly or plays it sequentially or how it does it. But in any case, the music's not meant to be a soundtrack to the audio. It's not like a movie soundtrack, it just happened to be playing at the time, and I don't intend to breach copyright. So you'll pick all those effects up, and you'll also notice again that black dot almost in the middle of the screen. That's not a fault on your screen, it's there's a blemish that was on my camera at the time, which I didn't realise and should have given the camera lens a bit of a wipe before I started. I'm fortunate that on my phone, which is a Samsung S10 I think, if there are fingerprints on the lens of the camera, I get a message on the screen saying clean the lens and you'll take a better photograph. But this is a camera that's not quite so sophisticated, so I didn't get that message and I didn't see the black spot until I started uploading the video. Alright, so with all that context set, there's nothing specific I want to talk about. I've talked enough about the police and stuff like that, so I'm just going to sort of ramble on about things that interest me and things that come to me as I'm riding along here while I ride and you watch between Tarago and, as I said, the township of Bungendore. I've made some comments in the past about the state of this road at various points, and you can see for yourself here it appears to be in pretty good condition at the moment. There are centre marking, which is always helpful, so you know which side of the road to stay on. There are the white stripes on the edge of the road with that little corrugated effect to them, so if you run over them they'll give you tyres that make a bit of a noise and wake you up if you're getting a bit drowsy. There are those white posts at the edge of the road where the shoulder is, and that's all important for keeping the road in good condition, and especially at night time, especially if it's a road that you're unfamiliar with. Not all of this road is perfect. Some of it is, as you'll see as you go past, the shoulders are broken, and there are potholes, there are patches upon patches upon patches, and a little bit further on into the video, at around the 9-minute mark, you will see that there's a section where the road is being rebuilt. So it's not all perfect, not all wonderful. This is what I assume is considered a connecting road. I think in New South Wales they're referred to as trunk roads, but I don't want to be quoted about that, but I think the term used is trunk road. Now, on a recent ride back from Victoria I talked about road funding, and to continue that, or to talk about that a little bit more, major highways, motorways and that sort of thing are the responsibility of the state government in the state where they're built, of course. Some roads are considered to be national roads, such as the Hume Highway, the Pacific Highway and so on, and so the Commonwealth Government, which collects bucket loads of money through fuel excise, helps to fund the building of those roads and make them the dual carriageways. Other roads, such as this road, are considered a trunk road or connecting road between two communities, and they are the responsibility of the state government. Now, the state government may parcel out money to the various councils that the road passes through and ask them to maintain and repair the road on their behalf. This road passes through the Goulburn-Mulwaree Council area, and at some point we cross the border, if that's the right word, into the Queanbeyan-Palerang Council, and so they would receive some money to maintain and repair parts of this road. In an earlier time, the New South Wales government had a body called the Department of Main Roads, or DMR as they were called, and not only did they have a design crew that designed roads and designed bridges and that sort of stuff, and in some cases actually built those things, they had maintenance crews that went out and did the maintenance on those roads. In some cases that still exists, and you'll see them as, I think they were at one stage called the RTA, or Roads and Traffic Authority, and then had their name changed to RMS, Roads and Maritime Services, and now I think they're just under the banner of Services New South Wales. So in some cases they still do that road maintenance, but in many cases they either farm it out to local councils, or they fund private companies to go and do it for them. So that's how I understand road funding works. This area here, I guess you could consider it as being open woodland. That sounds a bit like a bit of a contradiction, but you can see there are lots of trees on the sides of the road here, but behind the trees the land is open and not as many trees, so it's not forest or bushland in that sense. It's sort of open pasture or paddock area. Some of it may be privately owned property, farming properties and so on, and some of it may be crown land. In some cases, as you can see, the tree line is quite close to the road. In other cases it's a bit further back from the road. Whilst I don't advocate somebody coming along and cutting down the trees that are close to the edge of the road, it's good when they are a bit further back, because it makes the road seem a bit more open and you get better light, and that's particularly important as dusk comes on, when you get those shadows thrown across the road and it's hard to see potholes, things like that, and it's possible that wildlife will dart out from in amongst the scrub and the trees and so on, and you not see it till you're almost upon it, possibly hit the wildlife or whatever. So that's the state of the road, and as I say, we're on the road to Bungendore. Now, just we passed Tarago a while ago now, but Tarago is a small village that seems to be growing at the moment. Not hugely and not rapidly, but there's a school, there's a general store, there's a service station, there's a pub, which is called the Loaded Dog. I think the name comes from a Henry Lawson story called The Loaded Dog, about two blokes who were prospectors looking for gold, who used dynamite, and cattle dog that brings the dynamite back up from the mine, or something like that. But of late, I've noticed since time I went through, there is a cellar door outlet for a winery or a vineyard, and there's also a real estate agent. And it's usually a pretty good sign of progress, or a sign of the times that a town or village is growing, when the real estate agency opens there. In earlier times, I suspect most of the real estate sold in Tarago was sold through agencies in Goulburn, and I'm not suggesting that it all gets now sold through the agent at Tarago, but the fact that there is a state agent there indicates that there are some land deals and housing deals to be done. I think part of the attraction of it is that in our case it's about 42 k's or thereabouts from Goulburn, so it's a commutable distance. It's also about 60 k's to Queanbeyan, which is a bigger town. Queanbeyan's about, I think, about 40,000 people, and from there it's another 20 minutes or 10 or 15 minutes to Fishwick. So it's an attractive place in terms of being not too far from any of those places, but land values are much lower and housing, I assume, is much more affordable. You can see, just digressing for a moment, that we're on a section of the road that's being repaired and rebuilt. This is a result of some pretty severe damage during the last lot of heavy rain in 2022. This goes on for a couple of kilometres, and the Spider generally handles it pretty well. The two wheels at the front give you the extra stability. I'm a little reluctant to drive on dirt roads with the Spider because they warn you about stones getting caught in the belt and so on, but I mean, once I'm here there's nowhere to go. You can only turn around and go back, so I just have to keep going. I think it maybe runs for a kilometre or so. So anyway, getting back to Tarago, it's an area that's had and continues to have some issues, in the sense that there's a thing there called the bioreactor, I think is what it's called, and essentially what that is a place where putrescible rubbish from New South Wales is transported. It's then transported from there to an old mine site where it is allowed to rot and decay, and the methane gas that's produced as a result of that is harvested and used to, I believe, provide power, and some people claim it's to provide power to the desalination plant in Sydney. I'm not sure if that is the case or not, but certainly the gas is harvested and used to provide power. Now the people who live out in Tarago complain about the smell of that rotting rubbish, and you can understand that that would be the case. It's like opening your own garbage tin with everything thrown in it, or your own compost bin and just smelling the decay. The bigger issue is now that the people who own that reactor, Viola I think they're called, they want to build an incinerator to burn rubbish out there, and of course the people in Tarago say, well, there's already enough pollution and bad smell and whatever out here, and we don't want any more. Obviously such a plant couldn't be built in Sydney, and the question of what to do with that rubbish is a big issue. We have to find ways to reduce rubbish rather than think we can solve the problem by just burning it all the time. So the people there would rightly say, well, we were here before the biomass reactor, and we're certainly here before the incinerator, and it obviously is going to affect land values and quality of life and things like that if it is built. So I'm not sure exactly where the matter is at the moment. I'm sure it's in the courts or in the government's court somewhere. I guess we'll hear more about it in the future. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, I hope you enjoyed the scenery, and we'll catch up again in the next instalment of On the Road.